All right, everyone. The other day, Alexandria Ocasio Cortez came out when she was being interviewed. I think this was 2 days ago. I think it was on CNN. She was asked, "Do you believe that Donald Trump is a racist?" "Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, of course, a total bigot." Trump was then asked about it yesterday by the press, and he's like, "Oh, I don't fucking care." Basically, just totally ignores her. That's the way to take care of bullies. And Alexandria Ocasio Cortez is one. I mean, this is the sort of language that someone employs when they don't have anything policy related to actually talk about. The mere fact that it was asked is like, yeah, no. I wonder if this socialist here thinks that is going to say that the president, who's from the other party, who she really obviously doesn't like for political reasons, I wonder if she's going to call him a racist. It would have been funnier. It would have been very odd if she wouldn't. Because the general consensus among people who don't like Trump is that he's everything wrong with the world, right? He's a racist, he's a sexist, he's homophobic somehow, he's everything phobic, small hands, small oddly shaped penis, doesn't know what he's doing, terrible for everyone, basically the next Hitler, only also a dumbass. That's basically what they've cast him off as. And I can empathize because I've actually had situations where people who are far left, in discourse with me in various ways on political topics, devolve into the same kind of bullshit instead of sticking to actual issues. Like, they can't debate you on policy. Someone who wants, the productive class to pay a 70% marginal tax is not going to be able to debate you on economic things if you have any common sense at all. Even if you're like a routine, like a liberal or something, you're like, oh yeah, I want to raise it to like 44 instead, like an Obama tax or something. Even then they're not going to be able to outshine you because anyone listening to that situation is likely to be totally alienated by the socialist. And she can call herself, by the way, a social democrat all she wants. Bullshit term. Absolutely meaningless. Okay. It's basically like saying democratic socialist. Okay, we're not going to purge people to get in power. We're going to purge them after we get into power in an elected fashion. Yeah, Venezuela's technically speaking a representative system. See how well that democratic socialism worked out for you. You have the right to vote yeah, basically. And it's a little bit fascistic there. No, it's funny to see him get labeled a racist constantly when the only time he really talks about the issue is when people are calling him racist. Somehow lowering the tax rate is, I guess, a form of racism now. I don't really pretend to understand, like, the logic here, but that's the whole point. And it's happened to me too, and I've seen it happen to other people. It's like people want to dismiss you out of hand. You make a proper point. You've got evidence, you're objectively correct. What do? They devolve into, oh yeah, but I don't have to acknowledge that fact because you're racist, sexist, homophobic, you're far right. Far right is the blanket term they most often use, because if they don't have any specific reason to class someone as phobic in some manner or hateful, they'll say, oh yeah, but you're far right. So, I don't have to listen to you. You're one of those alt-righters or something, even when people aren't. Sometimes they even use that label to describe people who are professed liberals. And it's really funny, like you look at, like, for instance, hate to go back to this example a lot, but Sargon. He happens to have views that are not far left with regards to feminism, therefore, because of that one stance he has, he's labeled far right, or he doesn't want, censorship or something. Or with me, I want, basically I'm ostensibly a libertarian, but I also disagree deeply with, like, the LP on borders. I think border control is fine and, in fact, necessary and one of the pure functions of the state that do need to be done. And for that, apparently that's considered a far-right opinion now. But Trump is not a racist. He's given nobody any indication of why. It's like Tom Arnold keeps coming out and saying, well, I have a tape of Trump saying the N-word. Fucking release it then, Tom. Oh, no, I can't because I'm getting, like, death threats and stuff. Okay, well, if you're getting threatened anyway, why not fucking release the tape? Look, you'll have lines and lines. You'll have scores. You'll have Antifa members around your house defending you, Tom. You don't have to worry about anything. You know why? Why? Because there's no tape. It doesn't exist. Or when they labeled him sexist for the Billy Bush tape, and it's like, he's sitting there, they use the term braggadocio. I used the term just being pig-headed at the time, cracking a joke, and probably not even telling the truth with Billy Bush at the time. It was funny because then he gets sacked for chuckling a little bit. That was even funnier. Yeah, think about that Gillette ad that we'll have to talk about later as well with regards to sexism. I've never gotten nobody's ever given me any evidence that Trump is a racist. I see pictures of him 20 years ago hanging out with Al Sharpton. Nobody said that about him then. They said, no, he's a stand-up guy, A-class businessman and a gentleman and wonderful things. Yeah, a little bit of a womanizer, but, and he'll stab you in the back for your land maybe. But he's no racist, says Al at the time. Now all of a sudden they're singing a different tune. or Jesse Jackson. It's funny how the race card is constantly employed by the left wing, because their policies are shitty, basically, on many counts. It's sort of like, calling someone a commie or atheistic. They're irreligious. They hate Jesus or something, like War on Christmas style. Like, you remember, like, the 90s and into the Bush era, certainly, people on the right, who, many of them pretending to be traditionalistic, not actually being, like Bill O'Reilly, would say, well, this person, basically their argument doesn't have to be listened to. Yes, it's okay to censor them, to defame them in some cases, because they happen to have one or more beliefs that fit in with being like, they're an atheistic commie or something like that. You're far left. You're a bleeding heart liberal. I remember that term used to be quite common. They don't use that anymore. Now they say socialist. But then you have people like Cortez who actually are socialists. And by the way, don't give me the social democracy bullshit. Okay, so basically socialism light. Yeah, no thanks. I don't think we need to go down that road. No, I think that's a bad idea. Go ahead and have universal health care. Pay for it by cutting a bunch of other bullshit from the government. And no, I don't mean just the military, the one thing that the liberals occasionally at least talk about cutting. Everything else, it's grow, baby, grow. More government. Let's have the government control fucking everything. That's not socialism, though. It's social democracy. Now, bullshit. Absolutely bullshit. The government does way too much already. And it's funny to see someone who's going to end up, in the future, probably campaigning based in part on ethnicity, because she's a Democrat. It's funny to see them trot out racism when, they're the ones that bring that conversation up every fucking other day. And what have they done for the inner city, by the way, all of the minority communities that some of these people represent? Are they getting richer? Is anything better happening for them? No. It is under Trump, with the unemployment rate plummeting to half of what it was, I think, when he took office at first. And that was already a fairly low number. Now it's like, almost non-existent unemployment in some of these communities. True, by the way, in closing here, as an aside, the right wing does need to own up to the fact that labor force participation is also kind of anemic. That's part of the reason why the unemployment rate's low. Some people stopped looking for jobs. But some people got employed, and some people are now better employed than they were before, because, you don't just have burger flipping jobs coming back like the first half of Obama's fucking presidency. That's about all. Peace out.